Are we alive, my friend? We are live. We are live. We are live. Hi, everybody. This is Gillian Murray from Feel Good, Share Good. I'm located in the lovely little island of St. Martin in the Caribbean, but I am a Canadian, well, born in England, expat by heart. So I am here because this is our first of our series of our Immune System Foundation series of trainings, but we kind of switched it up a little bit. Some of you may be expecting to see Claudia today, but you know what? I had a conversation with one of my most favorite people, one of my most favorite fathers in the industry. And when you hear his story, you understand why I brought him into the mix, okay? Because when we are looking at immune system, it sometimes is so overlooked about why we need to have a strong foundation to our immune system, not just for ourselves, but for those that love us. Okay, so on that note, I just have a quick presentation here, but I just want to make sure that if those are in the room, invite people to the Zoom, because that's when we turn the Zoom, like the recording off, the live off, that's when it gets personal. That's when we actually get to know the inside scoop on why we're probably in a better space than many when it comes to our health. And fortunately, I'm connected with some amazing good people. And this is one of the reasons why we do this call every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. And we have specific trainings every week, all circled around how you can make yourself feel good and learn some tricks along the way. So without further ado, bear with me. I am kind of the master of broadcasting here. So I'm going to be starting the presentation now, and then we're going to go bring our guest speaker in. So you'll see him show up soon. So everybody okay? Am I on the right screen? We're good? Okay. All right, so understanding the immune system, the body's first line of defense. You know, this is, again, the second series. Last week we did the intro on it. And if you aren't part of our community, make sure you go in there. There's a lot of great slides. The actual presentation is available for you to go watch and watch the replay. We did, and some of these slides, by the way, can be printed off and used as a tool for yourself. But today, it's not only about understanding the immune system, but it's really your body's first line of defense. It's getting to know a really good friend of mine, Kevin Moore. We'll talk about him in a few minutes. So it's always important, as always, to have a health disclaimer for educational purposes only, not medical advice, everything that we do. But also statements not evaluated by the FDA. So this is the token disclosure that we have to do whenever we do a recording. But I do want to highlight the fact that, tonight is about celebrating our fathers in the mix. And for those who've had fathers who've had health issues, we have to put a reminder out there that your health is not just for you, but for those that love you. And sometimes we forget that, right? So our health impacts not just ourselves. It directly affects the people that love you, the people who count on you, the people who need your presence, strength, energy, and example. That's a Father's Day tribute. Sometimes we're so busy, let's take our dads out for dinner. But you know what? The best gift you can give your father is awareness of that their health matters to you. And you can remind them, don't tell them negative things, but remind them how important they are. And if we can give them guidance and support, that is the biggest gift of all. Because time is life. The more time you can have with your family, the more reward you have at the end of the day for your generational health, not just generational wealth. That's a big discussion for tonight. So, why tonight matters. It's all about understanding your immune system, and it's the essential foundation. This is the one thing that I never really talked about until I actually got forced into the situation. I never really talked about preventative measures when it came to my health. I was so reactive, and I was so sick, and I was so busy, and I was so used to running to the doctors and getting that little pill that might help me with my headache. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, if I had been a little bit more proactive, I would never have had to need to go to the doctor. I would never need to have to spend the time and energy to help relieve cirrhosis of the liver, believe it or not. and then having to worry about, whether or not I can actually wake up the next day as a mother of, three daughters. Would I be able to sustain myself? And today, just so you know, those who know me from way back when, I am now almost 60 and I feel better than I've ever felt in my entire life. And this is why it is really about going back to the basics. And sometimes you have to reset your whole system. Takes time, takes effort, takes commitment. But that's only if you value your health, not just for you, but for your family. So tonight, let's talk about this. Built-in protection system, we have it, but we don't always talk about it. Unfortunately, this only came to light in terms of conversation from my education was when we went through COVID. But your immune system protects you. It detects pathogens that you need to fight off. It helps communicate the response. It helps clean up your system so it can repair and remember the future threat. So that's one of the things that we have to get better at, educating those around us and keeping it simple, because sometimes we get so caught up in the phrases that we don't necessarily can communicate this in a clear manner. So this is one of the terms you see if you're part of a community that understands it. We talk about the 3 R's, but what I love is the new repair. There's actually 4, and this is why I am so excited, because yes, we can recognize, respond, and remember. If you understand what I'm talking about, if you don't know, reach out to the person that invited you today, because they'll tell you why it's important. But the new coming soon is the 4th R. That is repair. And that's what I'm going to get Kevin to maybe help me explain a little bit, because if you don't know about it, you got to get this out. You've got to put this on your radar. You've got to get it on, in your pocket for July 1st, because everybody should be on this. So without further ado, my beautiful friend Kevin, he has over 30 years of experience. Kevin specializes in leadership, purpose, wellness education, and personal development. He's a family man. Look at this beautiful family. He leads by example. He's a provider. But what I love about this little quote here, you don't build a business, you build people, and people build a business. What better way is when you bring your family into it, and then your family builds a business. It's even better. So without further ado, I'm going to just stop this sharing and bring my good buddy. Where is he? There you are. I'm going to add the spotlight. So there, Kevin, tell me,
Gillian.
how do we know each other and how do we align with each other?
Yeah, well, we go back a couple years now. But it felt like we were kindred spirits, right? I mean, I think almost immediately when we got to introduced, it was like, okay, we align in about everything that you've kind of danced around in the introduction, in, what it is to be healthy, why we want to be healthy, our families, our futures, and it's just and the way to get there, right? Because I think that that's one of the biggest things right now. You see all these trends, you see a lot of gimmicks, um, real science, and how does that impact people and why does it matter to us?
So I do have a couple of questions I'm going to bring forward. So this is, I hope you don't mind, because
Sure.
and we'll have a probably very candid chat after this as well, because I think that's important for people to understand how similar we are in terms of our
Yes.
background, right? But the question I have, with Father's Day approaching, what does health mean to you as a husband, a father, and a family leader? Like ultimately, when you talk to your children, because you have many,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of conversations do you have to remind them about health? I don't know how
Well,
you manage it, by the way.
it means everything to me, and I'll tell you why. Some of you may know my story. I see people who started off as business partners that became friends, that they're like extended family to me now, and that's what I love about this business. It's a relationship business, and so some of you know my story pretty well, but I'll tell you. My father passed away very unexpectedly when he was 32 years old. And my mom was 31. She was left as a widow. I was the oldest of three kids, and I was four and a half. And so my mom faced the proposition of life with a 4.5 year old, a 3 year old, and a 1.5 year old. And, it was unexpected. He was having some health challenges, went in and did what he thought was going to be a surgery that was actually going to help his quality of life, came home, blood clot, gone. And so, could he have avoided the blood clot? Certainly not. But the choices that led up to the fact that he was even going in for that surgery, some of it is nature. It's we're born with genetic predisposition to certain health challenges. Some of it is most definitely nurture. It's our lifestyle. It's how we deal with stress. Are we preventative? I'm a big believer that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If you want to get healthy and stay healthy, then you've got to prepare for that and you've got to plan for that. So, you know, for me, one of the biggest things for my family, 100%, is all of the success and accolades and wealth in the world. Ask somebody what true wealth is. You'll find, I know people that are financially free but they're not healthy. And guess what? They're trying to spend every single dime to do, to just feel well, to get healthy, to get back to some resemblance of vitality. So I talk with my kids a lot because my mother passed away at 60 years old. I thought 32, I knew that my whole life that 32 was young to pass away. Um, but I'm going to be 50 next month. And so now I start thinking about my mom being 60, and that starts to become something where you start to realize a little bit more that we got to take care of ourselves because the most important thing that we have is our body and it's our health. And you don't realize it until it starts to fail you.
And what you were talking about your dad and, fathers with, again, go back to Father's Day and being typically, the stereotype is the provider, right? You're the provider and you're trying to make sure everybody's looked after and you give them the lifestyle, the life, the freedom for your children to do what they want to do. But typically, like you said, you put your health last. I just remember watching my dad go through that, right? But he outlasted my mother, but my mother was also somebody that sacrificed herself, worked in cotton mines and cotton mines. So the cotton mills in England, it was, they just were workhorses so that they could provide for the children, right? But then and over time, their body suffered, right? And we as family at a distance, like we forget that their health is for us.
Yeah.
And when we watch our family not be healthy, and then in turn, that was my biggest lesson for myself, when I watched what I was doing for my children, and when I actually got sick, it's like, how can I don't want to be a burden,
Yeah.
and we talked about this a few weeks ago. We had a series of talks for the caregivers, right? For the sandwich generations. And that is something that came up, was specifically is like, we don't want to become the burden for our children that we've had to become. Don't get me wrong. I'm very blessed to have been able to support my family, my parents, and my mother-in-law and my father-in-law and the entire generation I was the caregiver for, right? However, that is a long-term, responsibility layered on the top of trying to look after yourself and your children, right?
It
So,
is.
and that's we don't always talk about that. Like, we don't talk about, so how do we as the providers, husband and wife, right? And or regardless of what partnerships you have, how do we stay true to what we need to do? Like, what support do we have? Like that's one of the things I want to try to help explain this with these series of talks. I was introduced to something that I know could help many.
Yeah.
I'm just going to share the story about this community that you're in, that you or if you're, how it started. I was struggling with the fact that I'm not a doctor. I surround myself with some amazing doctors. I have some amazing people that I've been working with for years that are absolutely brilliant. And the method is to help people save lives. But then I got introduced to, some incredible testimonials. Granted, 90% of them are all Spanish, right? But I'm looking at it going, okay, is this for real? And I did some legwork, and it took me like months and months of researching and challenging back and doing that. I'm an R&D girl. I'm like, I have to go back and just double check everything and before I put commitment to it. And the more I learned and the more I saw, and the more you actually access this community and play inside the community and look at our testimonials, the more you'll understand why it's called Share Good Stories and Solutions. Because not only are we sharing stories, we're offering solutions. And that is where I think we have to get better at, is saying that there are solutions and there are natural options. So like you've been with this, this mission for 30 years, Kevin, I'm new. It's been a couple of years for me. But I'm on a mission right now to make sure this happens. So can you help me maybe help simplify the immune system and how can you communicate to somebody why, instead of going off and going and get that, that topical cream that's going to make your skin look, really thin and,
Right.
wonderful just for the day, right? Or maybe, I hate to say it, I don't want to say the word, I'll get in trouble, but you go off and get an injection because, it's going to give you, potentially you might lose some weight down the road, but there's all this, chemicals inside it. Why would you focus on the immune system and focus on that aspect before you go over here to the extreme?
Yeah, well, there's a few things to that point, Jillian. I'll say one thing. I've been with the company now for 28 years, and now it's For Life, it's the immune system company. We talk about that. But when we started off, it was literally referred to as For Life Research. It's a research company. That's what I think people kind of lose in the legacy is it's founded in research. It's founded in science. Now, the truth of the matter is we have a society there's a lot of people it's about instant gratification. I'll take the shot because that's going to help me to where I see results quickly. That look around, everything is fast. Fast food, instant this, on demand. But what we have, and in essence, a lot of these injectables and things that you're seeing, um, we should be taking advantage of that because that's a word you're hearing a lot, Jillian, is peptide. Well, what
Mm-hmm.
is a peptide? Most people don't even really know what a peptide is. A peptide is just a short chain of amino acids, right? Well, what we represent with For Life is a polypeptide. It's kind of funny because people are like, "Oh, I hear that word, that's popular." I'm like, "Well, I've got another word for you, pioneer." Because we were talking about peptides before anybody knew what peptides were. Now, ours is a bioactive peptide that's consumable. But here's what I love about what we represent. Made by the immune system for the immune system. And like a research company, they have continued to find out more about this messenger molecule, how it works. And that's the incredible thing about it. It's not a vitamin, it's not a mineral, it's not an herb, it's not a drug. It literally is a messenger molecule that helps train your immune system. So I try not to take it for granted, Jillian, because in 28 years, I've heard some testimonials. I mean, I have heard the gambit. People of everything from, I mean, I had somebody one time say, how much caffeine does transfer factor have in it? Um, no caffeine. What? Like, that's a weird question. Well, I've never had the kind of energy I have. Well, that's probably because your immune system has been so worn out just trying to stay well. Because, we ask people how you feel. Well, I'm not sick or I'm okay. That's not the standard we should be striving for. We should be striving for wellness, optimal wellness, to feel good, right? To be vital. to feel good again, right? That's the things that we should be striving for. We're so used to just, well, I'm not sick or I'm okay. So what happened, I got people coming to me like, is there caffeine in there? Because for the first time, their immune system has had the light shine. It's actually shown on to their immune system. Now they're not in the dark. This peptide messenger molecule has equipped their immune system to actually run efficiently. And that's the one of the biggest things about this company and this product. As I got into the habit, Jillian, because provider, protector, those were the two things with losing my dad early that I recognized that my mom tried to do that she struggled with because those weren't naturally the roles that she, signed up for. She was kind of dealt that hand. But I've gone to the habit before where it's like eight to faint, and I'm burying myself chasing the provision part for my family, but you cannot pour from an empty cup.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things I love the most about this product is it's the ability to say, you know what? I'm going to strengthen my immune system and go with, everything's talked about AI now, artificial intelligence. Well, guess what I have in transfer factor OI? It's original intelligence. That's what it is. It's original intelligence made by the immune system for the immune system. And it's just getting better. It's like original intelligence that continues to have an upgrade because it started with the chicken, it started with the cow, then they found it in the chicken. Now we know that there's a plant-based transfer factor, phytofactor. I'm not trying to steal any thunder. Gillian will get to that in her presentation here, but it evolves. We're learning more and more about it. And the more that we learn about this original intelligence, which is transfer factor, this messenger molecule, nature's first supplement, go talk to AI about OI and you'll find
Oh,
out we got something pretty special here.
you know what? And thank you for bringing that up, Kevin, because it's, what's interesting is when I try to explain it right now, and we actually did a really great, presentation show, and it's recorded. You can check the YouTube channel, Feel Good Sugar. There's a recording where we had the chief science officer that helped patent and create the process for what we have today, and also the new introduction of the phytofactor, which is based on plant-based transfer factor. Like, oh my gosh. So that actually just reinforced to me that we are all one, like from animals to plants. Like we have the combination and the immune intelligence from both sides of the spectrum. And it's art. So how can you not want to be part of that? That was for me. I haven't touched that yet. I haven't had my hands on that bottle yet, but I'm waiting for that to come through my door. But you were just talking earlier about, how sometimes we just need to get back to feeling good again. And, I'm just going to share quickly, we have some other slides, but these can be printed off later. I just want to talk about that, Kevin, because, some people have heard my story, but you've got some new people here that have never met me. But I'm going to share my story quickly, okay? I had a head-on collision. I was a corporate trainer with a major global company, right? So, and I was helping somebody, do an event, and I just got in the car, no fault to anybody else that I was helping. I was just out there trying to do my job, which was serve others. And I didn't make it. So here I am at my threshold of life in terms of my corporate world, providing for my family, doing the best I could, and then unfortunately I did not make it to where I was supposed to go. I sustained a brain injury. I did not know I had this brain injury. I was treated for whiplash. So I spent all this time and years, like actually about 6 months, where I was battling not feeling good. And I did not know what was wrong with me. And it wasn't until I finally found the expert, but having gone through all the hurdles of feeling like I was losing my mind, losing my brain, thinking I got Alzheimer's. I was already caring for somebody who already had that. And I had the same symptoms, but I didn't quite know why. But then I ended up having to make a life decision. So I took some time off. For the first time, I took time off for me to heal, but not because I I wanted to. I wasn't in a position of generational wealth right there because I worked corporate. You know, it's different. My corporate role was helping others make money, helping others build that residual income that people would throw bricks through a wall to try to get that today if they understood why that's important. So I taught that on how others can make money, but I didn't do that a very good job for myself until such time the wall hit, I physically hit the wall. And then I was forced to take some time to work on regaining my health, right? And you having gone through similar scenarios I have, I was forced to, because of circumstances, to reinvent myself. So that also included, I hate to say this, but I had to look at the environment that I was in, look at what I was doing with my time. And we ended up moving down to St. Martin because I can focus on my health here, not just mine, but my extended family that was here. And that was a big change for me because I had a whole year of focusing on my healing, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. And that's something that sometimes we don't always realize until you've actually gone through that life experience, that sometimes the preventive measures are best. I don't want people to go through what I went through. Yes, I had a brick wall hit, but I'm thinking, between the two, the generational and the general health and generational wealth, I wish I'd better planned out my life when it comes to both aspects of that. But what I want to mention is that I also, because I was so sick and because I was in a reactive mode, I was so grabbing things off the shelves or taking stuff that the doctor said I should take, and it killed my liver. Like I literally got so sick and so inflamed and so massively sick that I ended up, not knowing where to go. Unfortunately, I found somebody, because I was, going through my journey of healing, I found somebody that introduced me to, cleaning out my system, educating me on natural solutions, and that helped. And then what I'm trying to say when you say feel good again, the fact that I have something now with our community that not only helps you feel good again and helps you, potentially lose the weight from the inflammation, but a lot of people don't know, like you just said it, about the fact that your immune system's now working what it's supposed to do, and people are still get the energy. Not only are they going to lose the weight with this program that we have, but now they have the added benefit of the phytofactor and the transfer factor, and they walk away after doing the program going, how come I feel great? I feel even way better than I did before. Like, what's going on? And that's because it's a new element. But what we're doing is giving the body the strength and the intelligence now, right? And that's what I think we have to get better at explaining that. And if we can simplify it, and that's why the 3 R's, we all talk about that, right? The recognize, respond, remember. But can you just touch on what I was trying to hint on, the repair? What does that mean? Like,
Yeah,
because July 1st is a big day, right?
it's
So,
it's a huge day, and you referenced it a little bit earlier, Jillian, is it's the discovery of the fact that these transfer factor messenger molecules are in the plant kingdom as well. Now, and you know what? It didn't come as a huge surprise to me. We always said nature's first supplement. We never said, animals first supplement or bovine colostrum's first supplement. It's nature's first supplement. And if you think about it, where does transfer factor transfer from host to recipient? With the cow, it's the heifer to the calf, colostrum, mother's first milk, right? With the chicken, it's also in that procreative process from chicken, hen to chick, in embryo, it's in the yolk, right? Well, in the plant, it's in the seed. Once again, in the transferring of new life, procreative life in that seed, right? And it's incredible because here's the thing about a plant, though. Okay. With the cow, we knew we had something special in transfer factor because we were able to understand enough about the cow's environment, right? The cow has a heroic immune system. Go look at a cow in a pasture. It's eating and doing its business in the same exact area. It's bacteria, it's viruses, it's pathogens. It's got a strong immune system. But when the chicken became a source of transfer factor, we knew it was even more special. Why? Because the chicken could have controlled environments. So now it could actually be introduced. If you think about what a vaccination is, what's a flu shot? A dormant strand of the flu. I've never once had a flu shot that felt dormant. I don't do them anymore, but when I used to take them, I'd get sick. I'm like, where's the dormant part? I must have got the active flu part, right? It doesn't feel like it's a dormant part. But what with the chicken is now we could actually, the scientist could introduce the chicken to certain viruses, pathogens. The chicken would then learn dormant strands, of course. We're not trying to cause any harm to the cow or the chicken, but then the chicken would learn from that experience. And now what? Their transfer factor can help to recognize, respond, and remember because, hey, we saw you in the chicken. We know that with the chicken sent the natural killer cells. The chicken sent the T suppressor cells. Well, where does repair come in? Here's what's incredible about the plant. With the chicken and the cow, there is a bit of fight or flee. Sometimes the chicken sees a threat. What does the chicken do? Buck, 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 and takes off, goes off to the other way. The cow sees the threat, cow turns around, goes to the other side of the pasture. What does the plant do? When a plant sees a threat, it has no choice. It has roots. It is grow and build and thrive where you're planted. That's the very term. You've got to grow where you're planted. So a plant's root, there's a great visual that our doctor, our chief scientific officer at For Life does. He takes a plant and he takes a lighter, a flame, and he puts it by the plant, and the plant actually closes up in defense. And then when you remove the flame, it opens back up. A plant is ecosystems of survival. So what does it do when its immune system encounters a threat? It has to repair. It has to repair. So this is what's incredible. I'll point to this. I've been involved with For Life now since I walked in there and got a job at the corporate office. Another thing that Jillian and I share in common, we both came from a corporate office in this world, and then we realized that we were on the wrong side of the right industry, and we got on the right side out here as representatives with the right company, For Life. I had to get Jillian over from that other company, but For Life, I realized I was with the right company. But here's the thing: is in 28 years. One thing I would tell you, they're a legacy company because they don't say anything unless they mean it. They say what they mean what they say, and they do it compliantly. They're a legacy company because of another L word, legalities. They don't make mistakes with the FTC, the FDA. They're conservative, and that's why they're sustainable. This product that's coming July 1st, go read the label. The label is what gets me excited because For Life is put right on the label, conservative, compliant, ethical company, right? That only says what they mean and they only mean what they say. And look at what the label says. The label says clinical strength, clinical dosages. It talks about IP6. It talks about the broad spectrum of what this immune support product is. It talks about the different cells that it increases and boosts and activates. NK cells. I mean, I'll let you go into the specifics, Jillian, but I will tell you this right now. The fact that this company has not only said they started off in the roots of research, just like we now have transfer factor, that's a phytofactor, that's a plant-based transfer factor. This company is planted in research, and they now have a product which, make no mistake about it, it's our flagship product because it has all of the transfer factor, the cow, the chicken, the plant. It's all in this product with zinc, with clinical dosages of IP6 with a new and improved blend of immune mushrooms. I mean, it's everything is in this product, and For Life is not shying away from it. They're owning it, they're standing up and they're saying, this is the broadest, best immune support supplement on the market. And yeah, I'm super excited about it. The plant was the difference. Nature's first supplement. The plant had it too. And our immune systems are similar enough in their compound and in their foundation that just like transfer factor has never been species specific, nature's messenger molecule is good for nature. So we can get the benefit of it. So I've never been more excited than I am for July 1st when it comes to this company.
You know what? It's thank you, Kevin. And I just want to just reiterate my positioning as well with For Life. Like For Life was just so in what I do. Like I help. My mission has been helping people get better, like feel good, share good. That's my whole brand, right? However, you know, people don't realize what I had to do to get here when it came to choosing a company, like a research company that aligned with what I was doing. When I was not only helping people do a detox program, but also helping people reduce their inflammation, because I had a good experience. I lost like 38 pounds in like 21 days, right? And then, I introduced other people like Claudia Bedoya shared a story. She lost 28 pounds in 21 days, all naturally, all naturally. But prior to this testing, I was running a company with another naturopath, and a lot of you have met her. And what we were doing is I was trying to educate people on doing this, just doing juices online. And we had a community where everybody went to learn how to, feed their body, nutrients up, toxins down, all naturally with juicing. And yes, you can do that. However, it was very hard to find produce in certain markets that were healthy, that had the nutrition in it. So what we did, it was trying to find a supplement company, and I spent like 6 months investigating a ton of different companies, that would align with what we were doing. We even researched the idea of actually creating our own supplements, but the logistics of that was crazy. It's actually insane. And it wasn't until I actually physically experienced the products because of my brain injury, when I was given some recall and I was given some reflection by my beautiful, girlfriend, Claudia, in Canada when I went back. And I was having a really hard time with depression, and the head injury was I was relapsing because I got exposed to. I hate to say, the crop dusting was happening. It was that time of the year. I live in a very urban, like a very agricultural land in southern Ontario. So I was just inundated, and I was getting very sick. And anyway, I got those products in my hand for my brain health. And then during that time frame, I took that information, I handed it over to the naturopath doctor I was working with, and we learned a little bit more about what we had. And we're like, are you kidding me? We got to use this. We got to leverage this. And that's how we created our program. And now that's how we're now launching something new. But Kevin, to your point, for me, it was just like I have naturopaths and doctors that I work with. It's about the value and the research of what it does for the clients. And, the added benefit for me was like, wow, I've come from this industry, but I was oh no, I'm not going back there. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that again, ever again. Even though I was corporate and I positioned myself, it was about the fact that I now had something that was amazing that could help my clients, right? And then in the same token, it was nice to go on a couple of trips, after like 6 months of being really active with what I was doing. And I went to Mexico with my husband. I went to Utah with my husband. I got the accolades, and I didn't even know it was happening. I didn't even know it was happening. Really, seriously, I did not know it was happening until I actually, somebody said, "Hey, Gillian, you got presidential lead." And I'm like, okay, it's nice, but I didn't really understand it because I wasn't focusing on that. Right? Does it make sense, Kevin? That's a gravy for me. But for those that are looking at it, it's there. And believe me, it's something because that's what I trained on back in the day. I am embracing it, Kevin. I'm embracing the residual income that can come with this, but I'm even more excited about the generational health and what I can help others get access to now, especially with the transfer factor max. That blows my mind. The stem cells, on that, like, just tell me more about the stem cells. I mean, can you explain that a little bit more? Like,
Yeah,
why is that?
this is the part that's incredible about the stem cells is literally it's a 90% immune cell coverage when it comes to your stem cells. It increases your stem cells. Stem cells is rejuvenation. It's the very basic building blocks of cellular health. And the deeper you go into cellular health, that's one of the things I love about this new product too. They put on the label clinical strength immune support. That word gets thrown around a little bit too loosely. But I was watching a video, a little caveat, Jillian, but I was watching a video the other day. It was for a service. And basically, the service was trying to talk to new brands about taking their supplement to market. And it was saying, if you want to take your supplement to market, because, supplements, me too, a dime a dozen, there's very few actually scientifically based, clinically proven products. And this service was saying, if you've got a supplement idea, well, social proof is good. It's good to have testimonials and people that love your product. And it's good to have, some data behind your product. But guess what they ended with? The number one thing for a consumer is clinical studies. That's what people want to know what the people that are way smarter than I are saying about it.
Yes.
What the doctors are saying it. The initials, the PhDs, the MDs, the cancer oncologist, the immunologist. What are they saying about it? Well, this product, this is what's incredible about this product. We keep on talking about Jillian, it's coming out July 1st. Officially, that's the launch date. And it's already won a Nobel Prize for Health. It's already won the most innovative product of 2026. It's already won 3 awards. It's already got 3 clinical studies, 3 awards. And Jillian, you haven't had it in your hands.
No,
Let,
I have.
let me end with my own little social proof. Okay.
Okay.
I have respiratory issues in Utah. Everybody thinks of Utah, and they should. It's got beautiful mountains, you know, nice,
Beautiful.
nice valleys, rivers, streams. People think of it the greatest snow on earth. People want to come here for the Olympics. It's a beautiful place. It's also becoming a very populated place. And because of these valleys, mountains, valleys, lots of population. We have some of the worst air quality in the country. I don't think most people think about that. But Salt Lake City is like on par with like LA when it comes to pollutions. We call it inversion. I saw a couple of my Utah friends here. They'll spit the truth. They'll back me up on this. Inversion is like pollutants in the air. And when we have a season like we just had, which people were angry with Utah because they were coming here to ski, greatest snow on earth, and we did not have a lot of snow this year. And so snow is a great way of getting that inversion out of the air, right? Well, every year I have something predisposition in my respiratory function that I get like a serious bout with bronchitis.
Yeah.
Serious. It's a seasonal thing. And I've had transfer factor my entire 27 years of pretty much it's my only big boy job. It's my adult life, right? I've been involved with for life one shape or another. And yet every year bronchitis. And then guess what happens with that bronchitis? I start to get borderline pneumonia and I get very bad laryngitis. So I almost get to the point where I can't talk. Well, in my industry, not being able to talk is a really bad thing. It's a bad side effect. Every year, this year, because of my association with For Life, I got 3 bottles of Transfer Factor Max right before the winter season. It didn't even have like a label on it. It just said, this is what's coming. And because I trust them, I'm like, if this is what's coming. And they were like, they did this kind of behind the scenes pre-launch Zoom with the doctors. So I get on there, they're talking about this is clinical strength immune support. This has now got phytofactor, transfer factor from plants. They're talking about this has got stem cell, it increases stem cells, it repairs your immune system. It increases, and they start going through NK cell, T suppressor cells, macrophages, all the different elements of your immune system. And I thought, well, this is really cool. Sounds cool. And they're talking about we've already got clinical studies and we've already, got a bunch of different white papers and research. And I'm like, this is incredible. But all that sounds great. We already had a great immune support product. Nonetheless, every year during the season, I got bronchitis. I think that it helped me get through the bronchitis symptoms quicker. This year,
No?
none. So I don't listen. I don't recognize, respond, remember, but repair this year showed up in my personal life. I actually to the point where my wife was like, when do you normally get the bronchitis and the laryngitis? I'm all, don't jinx me, woman. But she's like, well, when do you normally get it? I'm like, I think I get it almost every year. It's almost inevitable right before Christmas. This
Wow.
year, I felt that kind of congestion starting to set in. I took the transfer factor max regularly and it never developed into what it's always been. So, I mean, like you said, no claims, diagnoses, treatments, all the disclaimers, but that's a personal account from my life that I believe that this product is going to be absolutely instrumental for people.
On that note about this, sharing the story for those that are watching this right now, they're part of the community, or if you're not part of the community, make sure that wherever you see this live, that we'll make sure we put the link to it. But definitely share your feedback if you have had access to it, or you have a story that you want to share. Share that in that test in the share good health and testimonial. Rex, maybe in the chat, just share the actual link for it if you can, because that's exactly what we need to do. Is need to great stories today, Kevin. And I just want to, I know we're closing up, but I want to give enough time to have a conversation with those that privately are on the Zoom. So if you're not on the Zoom right now, get on the Zoom link so we can have an opportunity to candidly talk to Kevin before we close at 9 o'clock. But I do want to say thank you, Kevin. And I do want to just close it out, because I think this is the first of many conversations I think we're going to have.
Yes.
And we need to get this out there because we've been too silent for too long from what I'm seeing. And when we get bigger and you can get inside the community, we'll show you what we're talking about. I want you to get in there when we're in a private conversation inside the private community. You'll be able to, I'll point out some of the things I've seen, and it can make you cry, like some of the things that I wish I knew then what I know now, right? Because my mother had, and I could say that big word that we don't like to say, but hers was in the stomach, and I wish I could do more for her back then. But if I knew then what I know now, I would feel more comfortable that did everything in my power, right? And I am also that word survivor as well. And I'm always nervous about whether or not this is going to be passed on. So the more you can share, the more you can share good. So that's what it's feel good, share good means. I personally feel good, Kevin. And yes, granted, I need to lose a little weight because I sit down too much on the camera. But I need to get up and move. And I live in the Caribbean. You think I'd be out there every day, but no, I'm so driven with this that I want to. But hey, guess what? I know what to do. I can
Yeah.
do a feel good again reset, and I'll be happy. It's all, but thankfully for this company, and thank you, Kevin. And I just want to just close it out with a couple reminders for what's coming up. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share the slide. But again, just a little reminder, because your health is not just for you. Okay. Love this picture, by the way, Kevin. Love this picture. It is for the people who love you. Join the conversation and build better health together. Start coming to our Share Good Talks every week. This is the first in our series of a immune system education. And for those that did not see last week's call, it is in the community. You can watch the recording back then. But next week we have Sonia. She's going to be sharing a little bit more into the transfer factor and the immune system intelligence. But she's also going to share some tips as a wellness health educator. You may not realize that some of these products could be covered by your insurance company. So we're going to go over a little bit about that next week as well. That's always nice to know. Okay. And the other thing, I just want to remind everyone, we're going to go back to the other slide. I just wanted to share. For those that don't know, at the end of this series, at the end of the month before we launch July 1st, the new launch of the products and that, we actually are doing a certification of completion, very simple. I'm going to ask you maybe 5 questions, but the intent is for you to start inviting people to the community. We're going to give you a little survey based on some of the talks that we had. So, we might ask you who the special guest was, how you find him. That might be one of the questions, like Kevin Moore to living. That's how you find him, right? But we want to make sure that you are like there. And for those that fill out the form, you'll get a certification. This is the first time we're going to be doing this with this community, but I think the more we educate, the more we learn. It's always nice to have a piece of paper at the end that said, yes, I was, certified and the Immune Intelligence Foundations. Okay, so that's coming up. And remember, next week is we have Sonia, and then after that, I can't wait to talk to Helena. Helena, by the way, is doing a brand new Feel Good Again Reset program. And if you don't know who Helena is, wait till you hear her story and her daughter's story. Like absolutely insane. In 1 week, her daughter released 8 pounds and stopped smoking, and she's on a roll right now. So I can't wait to hear her story. And again, going back just to close it up. Okay, we have 2 communities. This is a reminder. There's 2 communities. We have a public community where we share daily tips on health. Like today, we shared, what to do in your first 30 minutes of waking up in the morning. What are the 8 steps that you should be doing or consciously doing? So every day we're going to share a health tip. That's our Feel Good Naturally public community. So that's where you can celebrate how you're feeling. Out there, you publicly share how you're feeling. And that way we can share it amongst ourselves, as long as it's compliant, right? But then over here, the Share Good that's the private community. That's the one that where you can go and check the guides, check the resources, check the files. A lot of those documents that Kevin was talking about are in that file section. You can go back and research and look at some of the protocol listings and things like that in there. Again, all compliant, would be compliant with everything you do. But I just want to remind you that we've now just changed the logo to sharing. It's called Feel Good, Share Good. And this is who we are. And thank you again for everybody that's watching this show. We do this every week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. And we look forward to have not only helping you feel good, but share good. Thank you. Stop the recording and stop the live. Bye, everybody. Okay.